Well, on this edition, our historic and nostalgic feature features on a man who started his British career at Poole Speedway, Sam Ermolenko. Sam Ermolenko, how did you come to Poole in 1983 at a time when I guess the British Speedway scene wasn't flooded with Americans?
Well, I was very unfamiliar with the British scene riding in California. Basically, I took up Speedway in middle of 1981 as a hobby, and we had finished my year in 81 and did a full season in 82, and that's when the World Final came to LA Coliseum, which Bruce Penhall won. And I believe at that point there was a lot of probably promoters that came over for the World Final that kind of noted certain names, and towards the end of 83 I was having a decent season, and I had Brian Maidment from Poole Speedway that gave me a call.
What do you remember about that first season? Because of course you actually rode for just the last 6 weeks of that year in 1983. But what do you recall about coming to Poole then?
What do I recall about coming to England is what you should ask, because it started off with a phone call, which was pretty bizarre, of this guy talking English, asking me if I wanted to come over and ride in England for the British League Poole Pirates, and very unfamiliar to me what was going on over in this side of the world. Took it all in, and negotiated with him over the phone to the point to where he made me such a good offer I really couldn't refuse it. So I got on a plane, came over, did the last 6 weeks of the season, and it was a culture shock, definitely coming from sunny California. So
I'll vouch for that.
Yeah. So it was one of those things where I just kind of paid my dues, and it kind of woke me up a bit, and I had a good introduction, I should say, into the British Speedway.
Now you came in for the whole year, the following year, 1984. You came in as number 2, if I remember rightly.
That's right.
But it wasn't long before you were a heat leader.
Yeah, it didn't take me long. Well, I wasn't really the best of gators, and it was pretty difficult because in America we're running really small tracks, and the emphasis really isn't put on to making a good start, more just having your races in. We run a handicap circuit, so you had a chance to pass the different grades of riders that were lined up in the heat. So I just kind of came here and dumped the clutch, and usually I was last, and kind of thrilled the audience here. I think they actually put my name down on one of the fence boards. So I went through it so many times. But it was good. It was a good experience, meeting all the boys, and joining a team. That's something that we don't do in America. It's more individual.
Yeah, I was going to say about that, because of course it is very much more individual in the States, and the concept of league racing, although it's widespread in Europe, it was quite unfamiliar, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, at home you basically show up, you sign on an entry board to race the event, and you usually don't get put onto the program until the week after, and you basically alternate with other riders that are trying to get on the program, depending on how your result is on the racetrack the night that you're riding. If you make the final, you're automatically on the program the following week. And just individual, and you graduate through different divisions till you get to the top division, and then you become a scratch racer, which is on the starting lines like we race here in Europe. Otherwise you're on the handicap side of the program, and basically that's how it was. And you just rode for yourself. If you had a bad night, you only blame yourself, and you get on with it. No team. And so coming over here, it's kind of neat, having 7 guys on a team, and going out there and traveling down the roads together and meeting up for the races. It's still going on today.
Absolutely right. I was going to ask you what you made of it, but can you remember who those riders were? I mean, as I say, we're asking you to go back 20 years now, but I guess Neil Middleditch may well have been one of those.
Oh yeah, Neil Middleditch, the team manager of Poole Pirates now. Yeah, I do remember most of them all. Yeah, like it was yesterday. I had Stan Bear on the team, an Australian, Brian Jacobsen from Denmark, Andy Campbell, an English guy, Neil Middleditch. Probably forget somebody. I know Michael Lee was on the team. Kevin Smith. It's the team, isn't it?
Did you find that? I mean, obviously your experience was very different in the States. So did you find that you were learning off these guys?
They're basically 2 different sides of the coin there. I mean, I came over here really green, not knowing the procedure, not knowing that you can even do a practice start before the race. That's something that we didn't do a lot in the States. So to take it all in, I learned a heck of a lot out of all of these guys. And I got to live at Ken Middleditch's place, the Bailey House, which is Neil's father, and I was around a lot of the boarders that were there, and it was, man, we always hung around and prepped the bikes, so there was lots to learn.
What about your countrymen? Because at that time, although I said it wasn't flooded with Americans, there were still a few of your countrymen on the scene, weren't there?
Yeah, not so much down here, down south. They were more based in the Midlands, and that made it a little bit awkward. But you know, I had a really good good rapport with all the boys locally, so there was no problems with communication. It was just the distance having to travel to hang out with the American boys. We only really got together when I went north or they came south.
Okay. Now I gather that you've actually brought out a book which is documenting your life, and I guess Poole's going to feature in that somewhere along the line.
Oh, absolutely. They're a big part of the book because of the beginning of my season and a lot of good laughs down here. It's called Breaking the Limits, and there's a lot of answers in there. There's probably a lot of questions that a lot of people don't know about, like, you know, where does the name Ermolenko come from, and why am I called Sam when it's not my real name, and basically the late start that I had in my career and the injuries that I've sustained through my career.
And I guess that charts the career because, of course, you were at Poole for the year of '84. You went home in '85 because Poole dropped down a division, and Reg Fearman, who you were riding for then, sold the Poole license as such. But then it charts, I guess, how you came back and ended up at Wolverhampton for so many years.
Yeah, it was basically whenever I lost my job here in the British League. I mean, it was a big commitment for a club. I mean, I was married with 2 kids. Just the air travel alone was very costly, and the Poole promotion took that gamble in 1984 and brought us all over here. We lived down in Bournemouth, had a great lifestyle, and whenever it didn't carry on in '85, I stuck to my guns and tasted the scene over here in Britain and came back with a lot of ammunition and actually almost won the World Championship at Bradford, which was an honor in itself, being involved in it at that level and doing well. That got the phone ringing again. Maybe they kind of thought, well, maybe it's worth the investment. And Peter Adams, which is now the team manager of Wolverhampton, he called me up and basically dangled the carrot in front of me and told me all the good things about riding for Wolverhampton. I straight away recognized the fact that being at Poole in my early days, being based down south, where all the Americans were based in the Midlands, you kind of started understanding that the Midlands is where Speedway really, where all the focus was as far as the, you know, the people that supplied the equipment, the tuners, and the tracks. You can kind of get to them a little bit easier being in the Midlands. It all made sense, and Peter Adams did a good job negotiating with me, and I got on a plane and started my career at Wolverhampton in 1986.
But we're going to enjoy reading about it in the book. Do you still like coming back to Poole?
Absolutely. I'm still very welcome with all the fans. It's really nice. I mean, most of the kids that used to kick around my knees at that time are now grown up. So it's kind of neat to see everybody evolve, and it's really good.
It's good to see you back here. Always a pleasure to see you. Good to talk to you. Thanks for telling us about it.
Thank you.